Thanksgiving is a time of gathering where family that had been separated for the past year is finally reunited and celebrates with a big feast. At least that's what it's supposed to be like. Seeing how we're about to round the corner on yet another holiday season, I have prepared for you today 3 true cases that happened on Thanksgiving Day. Without further ado, let's jump right in. I'm your host Kevin, and this is Crime Chronicle.
Hey, real quick before we begin, I started editing this video without realizing Filmora had launched an update that effectively broke panning. So I apologize about some of the stuttery panning in this video. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it before I had to go live with it. I just didn't have time to go and fix it. So again, apologies for that one. But anyway, let's get on with the show. On Thanksgiving Day in 2004, Janet Yeary of Kokomo, Indiana, was immersed in the timeless tradition of preparing for a customary family gathering at her home. As the day unfolded and the gathering was underway, Carly, her daughter, became increasingly concerned when her mother failed to respond to her calls and messages. Growing increasingly worried, Carly rushed over to her mother's house only to find a scene that would haunt her forever. Carly Yeary's world shattered when she made a devastating discovery at her mother's home. Tragically, her worst fears were confirmed when she discovered Janet's lifeless body. The aroma of a cooking turkey filled the air as Carly surveyed the scene. No signs of forced entry were found, the absence of which later puzzled investigators as they scoured the scene for clues. The mystery surrounding Janet's untimely demise left everyone searching for answers. Janet had been cooking a turkey in the oven, indicating that she was in the midst of festive preparations. The absence of any clear motive or evidence only deepened the mystery surrounding her death. The close-knit community was left baffled and heartbroken by this shocking event. It wasn't until January 2005 that a suspect named Case was apprehended at Indianapolis International Airport through the use of an outstanding warrant. However, before he could be questioned or charged, he managed to self-end. The detention of a suspect named Case provided a glimmer of hope for justice. However, his abrupt demise before questioning raises suspicions and casts doubt on his involvement. The unanswered questions surrounding his connection to Janet and the circumstances leading up to her death remain shrouded in mystery. Over the years, advances in forensic technology may offer new leads for opportunities for re-evaluation of existing evidence. The community rallied together, offering their support for assistance in this desperate pursuit of justice. Months turned into years as investigators meticulously pieced together evidence, hoping to shed light on what happened that fateful day. The memory of Janet Yeary haunted her family and friends, who yearned for closure and retribution. The search for justice became a symbol of resilience and determination within the Kokomo community. Now, while most of the community seems to be supporting the local investigators here, there are some that believe authorities have tunnel vision on the wrong man. During the course of the investigation, 2 other murders had been committed under very similar circumstances, and it's believed by some that police should really be turning their attention to a man named Nathan Dodson, who goes by the moniker Nat Dog. Nat has a bit of a violent past, as well as ominous connections to all 3 victims, so it seems some attention should be thrown his way. To date, the murder of Janet Yeary is still unsolved. It all started on Thanksgiving 2010. The Skelton Brothers, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner, vanished without a trace. But to understand the full story, we need to rewind a bit. You see, their parents, John and Tanya Skelton, were going through a bitter custody battle. The tension between them was palpable, and it seemed like the boys were caught in the middle. Now, let's talk about John Skelton, the boys' father. He was a complex character, to say the least. Some say he was a troubled soul, while others believe he had a plan all along. As the investigation unfolded, law enforcement left no stone unturned. They combed through phone records, interviewed witnesses, and organized search parties, but the boys remained elusive. John Skelton's stories didn't add up either. First, he claimed to have given the boys to an unknown woman. Then he changed his tune, saying he handed them over to an underground group for their safety. The lack of concrete information only deepened the mystery. Eventually, John Skelton was convicted and sentenced to prison for unlawful imprisonment. He's currently serving his time at the Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility in Iowa. But here's the twist. He hasn't been charged in connection with the boy's disappearance. Now, let's fast forward to the present. John Skelton's parole status has been a hot topic of discussion. He was denied parole in August, but there's a chance for another hearing in the future. The community is on edge, wondering if he'll ever reveal the truth. And that brings us to the heart of the matter, the unanswered questions. What really happened to the Skelton brothers? Their mother, Tanya Zuvers, and the community are desperate for closure and justice. It's a story that continues to grip our hearts and minds. After the boys went missing on that fateful Thanksgiving Day in 2010, law enforcement wasted no time in launching a full-scale investigation. They left no stone unturned, determined to bring the boys back home. The investigation focused on John Skelton, the boys' father, who was the last person seen with them. Phone records became a crucial piece of evidence, helping authorities track John's movements leading up to the disappearance. They were determined to find any leads that could shed light on the boys' whereabouts. Meanwhile, the community rallied together, organizing search parties to comb through the area in hopes of finding the missing boys. Volunteers from all walks of life joined forces, determined to bring the Skelton brothers back home safe and sound. Despite the tireless efforts of law enforcement and the community, the search for the Skelton brothers yielded no concrete results. The boys seemed to have vanished without a trace, leaving everyone baffled and desperate for answers. The search for the Skelton brothers became a race against time with each passing day, adding to the anguish felt by their loved ones. But the determination to find them never wavered. The community remained united, holding on to hope and refusing to give up. As we move forward in this story, we'll explore the conflicting stories told by John Skelton himself. This is where things start to get really puzzling. When the boys first went missing, John Skelton claimed that he had given them to an unknown woman. But as the investigation progressed, his story took a bizarre turn. During a police interrogation, John Skelton changed his story, stating that he had actually handed the boys over to an underground group for their safety. This left investigators and the community scratching their heads. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no concrete information was ever found to confirm Skelton's stories. The lack of clarity only added to the frustration and desperation of those searching for answers. Tanya Zuvers, the boy's mother, had this to say.
Realistically, I know that chances are my boys are living in a better world than we live in. And that gives me comfort. As a Christian, I know that I will be reunited with them someday, but I still want that knock on the door that says, "Hey Mom, we're home."
Tanya Zuvers, along with the entire community, continues to seek closure and justice for the Skelton brothers. The unanswered questions surrounding their disappearance weigh heavily on everyone's hearts. John Skelton is currently serving time at the Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility in Iowa for the unlawful imprisonment of his sons. It's important to note that he has not been charged in connection with their disappearance. Despite the lack of concrete evidence linking Skelton to the boys' disappearance, the court found him guilty of unlawfully imprisoning them. This conviction raises more questions than answers. Tanya Zuvers, the boy's mother, has been vocal about her frustration with the lack of progress in the case. She believes that Skelton holds the key to what happened to their sons. The community also shares Tanya's sentiment, rallying behind her in search for justice. They refuse to let the case go cold and continue to demand answers. Despite Skelton's imprisonment, the search for the Skelton brothers continues. John Skelton, the father of the missing Skelton brothers, has been denied parole. In August, the parole board reviewed his case and determined that he was not eligible for release at this time. This decision was based on various factors, including the seriousness of the crime and the potential risk he posed to society. However, there is a glimmer of hope for Skelton. Another parole hearing could be scheduled in the future, giving him another chance to present his case for release. The The exact timeline for this potential hearing is uncertain, but it offers a possibility for Skelton to seek parole once again. The community and the boy's mother, Tanya Zuvers, are left with unanswered questions and a deep longing for closure and justice. The disappearance of the Skelton brothers remains a haunting mystery that has gripped the hearts of many. Despite the passage of time, the community has not forgotten about the Skelton brothers. They continue to rally together, organizing vigils and searches, hoping to uncover any leads that could shed light on what happened to the boys that fateful Thanksgiving Day. Tanya Zuvers, the boy's mother, has been living a nightmare for over a decade. She's been desperately seeking answers, but the truth remains elusive. What really happened to Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner Skelton? It's a question that haunts everyone involved. Despite extensive investigations and countless leads, the fate of these young boys remains unknown. The search for answers goes on, fueled by the unwavering determination of a mother and a community that refuses to give up hope. Join us in demanding justice for Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner. Let's bring them home and give their family the closure they so desperately need. Anyone with information is asked to call Michigan State Police at 517-636-0689 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. The Paki family of Muskegon, Michigan was well known in their small town for their annual Thanksgiving gatherings. In 1998, however, this traditional holiday took a dark turn. Leading to that fateful day, tensions within the family had been brewing, as Seth Paki, the youngest son, had been asked to move out of the family home. These events set the stage for the tragedy that would unfold during their Thanksgiving dinner that year. On that fateful day, following the lavish Thanksgiving feast, the shocking discovery of the gruesome scene sent shockwaves through the close-knit community. It was in the early hours of the morning when the parents of April Boss, who had come to the Paki residence in search of their daughter because she did not return home the previous night, noticed a partially open door to the garage, nearly stumbling over John's body. Little did they know that just one wall separated them from the sight of the lifeless bodies of Stephen Paki, Linda Paki, Jedediah Paki, and their daughter, April Boss, laying strewn across the blood-soaked floors. The initial suspicion surrounding this heinous crime left everyone bewildered and eager for answers that seemed to elude them. Stephen Wallace played a crucial role in the investigation of the Paki family Thanksgiving tragedy. He approached the police and claimed that Seth Paki had confessed to the murders and asked him to dispose of the gun. Wallace's involvement provided a significant breakthrough in the case, as it led the authorities to focus their attention on Seth as the primary suspect. His testimony and cooperation with the police were instrumental in unraveling the truth behind the gruesome crime. After Stephen Wallace's revelation, the police wasted no time in apprehending Seth Paki. Initially, Seth attempted to shift the blame onto his brother, claiming that John had committed the murders. However, as the evidence mounted against him, Seth's resolve crumbled. He eventually confessed to the heinous crime, admitting that his anger at being told to leave the family home had driven him to commit the murders. Seth's arrest marked a turning point in the investigation, bringing closure to the citizenry that had been plagued by fear and uncertainty. Seth Paki's motivation for the murders can be traced back to a deep-seated anger that had been brewing within him. The catalyst for his violent actions was the ultimatum given by his parents, Stephen and Linda Paki, to move out of the family home. This demand shattered Seth's sense of belonging and triggered a wave of resentment. The court recognized the gravity of Seth's crimes and the devastating impact they had on the public. As a result, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentencing brought a sense of closure to the grieving populace, but it could never fully heal the wounds inflicted by Seth's actions. The Paki family Thanksgiving tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of anger and the devastating consequences it can have on the lives of those involved. After spending nearly 12 years behind bars, Seth Paki made a desperate attempt to escape from prison. In a daring plan, he managed to overpower a guard and steal his uniform. However, his bid for freedom was short-lived. As he made his way toward the prison gates, he was confronted by a group of armed officers. In the ensuing shootout, Seth was fatally wounded. The Paki family Thanksgiving tragedy of 1998 left an indelible mark on the community. The gruesome scene discovered on the fateful day shook everyone to their core. The involvement of Stephen Wallace in Seth Pervacki's arrest and confession added layers of complexity to the case. Seth's motivation for the murders, stemming from his anger at being told to move out, revealed a deep-seated resentment. The escape attempt and tragic end further highlighted the devastating consequences of this heinous crime. The Paki family Thanksgiving tragedy will forever be remembered as a dark chapter in Muskegon's history.
Thank you for making it to the end of the episode. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you appreciate what I do here, then please hit that like button. If you're interested in helping my channel grow, then please consider subscribing, and don't forget to ding that bell to be notified on all future uploads. I post new cases here bi-weekly currently, as that's the maximum my current schedule allows, though I'd love to be able to post more if there is demand for it and I can accommodate it into my schedule. If there are any solved or unsolved cases you'd like to see me cover, then please leave your suggestions down in the comments. If you're hungry for more Crime Chronicle, then good news. YouTube thinks that you'll like this video that I am definitely pointing to right now. That's all I have for you on this episode. I have been Kevin, this has been Crime Chronicle, and you stay safe out there.